And so, sharing here about entanglement and attachment in family dynamics. Of course, the relational dynamics could be in any configuration. But in family dynamics, the needs met structure that has been created, so the dynamics that have been created, that everybody is playing a character that is entangled in a certain dynamic pattern. The whole pattern is a protective pattern, and attachment within that pattern is that needs met structure. So the needs met structure is a learned way of needing to relate and act according to a belief that that is what keeps you safe and connected to love. But of course, that love is not true love. That love is a conditional, it's not even really love, but it's a felt sense of connection or getting your needs met within a relational dynamic that is dysfunctional or unhealthy. And most beings have family dynamics that have dysfunctional and unhealthy patternings at play, because when relational dynamics are rooted in separation, rooted in the belief that you are divided from love, then this is what plays. But it has its own perfection, because it is offering us the opportunity to be true, offering us the opportunity to see clearly. And so as we open to the truth of the being, in a way, these kind of dynamics that have played through the life and that we have found ways of navigating through the needs met structure, ways of relating and connecting in certain dynamics that bring a sense of safety and connection that has been learned. But it is protective, it is not freedom. And so as we open more and more to the remembrance of the love that we are, all of these dynamics are going to come forward and be highlighted so that we have the possibility of shifting them. So yes, in family dynamics, because they're so deeply rooted, it can feel hard because of the attachment. But this is the great possibility to move from a deeper, truer place of true safety, from true love, and not from the great misunderstanding or a deceptive love or delusional sense of love, which is just attachment and habit, protective habit. So if there is a situation in your life that feels unhealthy or doesn't feel clear and open, it is to just be very honest with yourself that you don't need permission from anyone or anywhere else in order to move according to what feels true in the heart. Whatever happens is true for everyone, and whatever happens it's about shifting a dynamic that is rooted in separation to offer the possibility of that dynamic shifting to something more open and free and clear. And that when you move truly from the heart, without the story, without projecting blame, but move from a felt sense of a heart that feels true, it is to offer to all beings in the dynamic the possibility of greater openness and clearer seeing. And yes, it does take courage, but that courage is born out of the longing to live this truth all the way through, the longing to live as love, and to be willing to be a character in the play that is like a truth bomb, that disturbs unhealthy dynamics, that uproots the old ways of being, and is also willing to meet the boundaries of a needs-met structure that keeps you in separation. So what that would look like is just moving from what feels true, saying no to certain dynamics playing out, just to, from love, to say, I'm getting a no to that. This doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel true in my heart for this dynamic to be moving like this. An invitation to open it up and share what feels true and see if a conversation might clarify things for everyone. And of course, there's a risk involved in it, and the mind will be focused upon the risk and the fear, and the heart will be focused upon love and clarity. And when the longing in the life is for love and clarity to be lived, and for that love and clarity to be lived by all beings, and for the family and close companions to have a greater freedom, it's not to project ideas upon anyone, but when you start living this truth, it offers that possibility for all beings. And of course, some beings may close down or be reactive, and it's for the sake of love, the willingness to allow that, but the willingness to say no to what doesn't feel healthy, the willingness to move from the truth of your heart without that needs-met structure that's considering everyone else. It's about not considering everyone else, which the mind could say, well, that's selfish. But that's the needs-met structure. You have to have a self to be selfish. And so it's not moving from the me, it's moving from love. And so it's not selfish, it's actually selfless. But the mind will, in fear, create ideas that you can't say that or you mustn't do that. But as we open to live as this love, we absolutely have to be the vehicles for shifting and changing to happen if we are to live in freedom and to truly bring this knowing of the love that we are to the surface of life. So it might feel easier in the speaking than in the action, but when you can feel the truth of the heart, it's not to consider with the mind and work out, because that's the need-met structure, trying to work out and calculate, well, if I say this or if I do this, what will happen? It's to just allow a free flow of truth. Speak truthfully, be honest. The other part of this, of course, that is so important, is that in whatever dynamics are playing, meet the feelings that are arising in you before you take action, in order to ensure that true movement is actually true and from the heart and not reactive, right? So yes, we can play both the seeming abuser and the victim. We can be playing both parts, but to move from the heart is to recognize that there is no duality, that it's in truth the only perpetrator is the mind. And so to meet your own feelings first, allow the arising of sensations, notice if there's anger and frustration arising, and allow within your functioning that it's okay to feel anger, so that you're watching the character that has anger. You're holding a loving space for the child in you that may have suppressed and pushed down anger, that you're allowing yourself to be angry. You're bringing anger to the holiness of now. And it might feel like saying, I feel angry. I just feel angry, frustrated. And let that inner child speak while you're holding the space. So allowing your own inner opening to happen. And once there is a sense of settling, a releasing of the old stress and a settling, then move truly, speak truly, be honest, and have the courage to express, this doesn't feel true. Feeling like some kind of shift in this dynamic is needed. And yes, it is like upturning dynamics that are in place within families, that are attachment dynamics and entangled. It is to find the place in you that needs things to stay the same. So if you find what is your need in it, how is this useful to you? To be able to express this to yourself, well, it keeps me safe. It means that I don't have to face my fear, right? Whatever it is, how is this dynamic useful to you? Because you start to see what your need is in it. And when you illuminate your need, you start to untangle yourself by seeing that your need is an old survival need, and that you don't really need the dynamic to be the way it is. You just start illuminating. And we cannot actually see how entangled we are when we have a need for something. We have to come to an independence and clarity where we don't need anything or anyone, where we know the truth of who we are, so we don't have a need that entangles us in unhealthy or potentially toxic situations. Now, at the same time, yes, we could say that we are the creator of those situations, but we can keep ourselves trapped in them by feeling like a victim in it and actually not moving from truth, but being bound by fear. So yes, the consciousness is creating it, but it's creating it to give you a reflection of a blind spot, of a protection, and it's offering the possibility to move from a deeper, clearer place, to move from a loving place that is honest and expresses what feels true and is open to a shifting of dynamics that might feel like it is within a family dynamic that is very habitual, like everyone has their place. Within a family dynamic, it can bring a lot of fear to throw all the balls up in the air and say, you know what, this dynamic is habitual and we're all playing these parts and it doesn't feel true here, it doesn't feel loving. And the feeling here is wanting to bring more love, is wanting to update this dynamic. Can we open to something different happening here? And this can mean saying no to certain ways of relating, certain ways of connecting and spending time together. And yes, it does take courage. But the courage comes from a deep conviction of the heart, a deep one-pointedness and a pull to know and live this love all the way through. So it is to be willing to experiment and open things up wider and broader than you have ever opened these places, and to find out what can happen. You're not going to know in advance, and The me that wants to be safe, wants to know in advance, is wanting to know that I won't lose love, that I won't upset anyone. But sometimes allowing your truth to be what upsets someone is what can actually set someone else free. So not to be attached to outcomes, not to be holding a position within your needs met structure where you are protecting others, because in truth you may feel like you're protecting others, but you are only ever protecting yourself. The me is totally egocentric, and even the idea that I'm protecting others is out of a fear and wanting to protect yourself. So here is some ideas and possibilities to explore, to allow. Essentially, it is about living in the presence of being, as the presence of being, which is the presence of love. And when you have met all your feelings around certain triggers, it is to allow true movement to happen. Because a big part of this unfolding is that all of our conditionings and protections will be challenged. We will be asked to push through the edges of our fears and protections so that we can live larger, so that we can live as the infinite, timeless being that we are in truth, in and as the purity of a love that is without conditions. We can imagine within our family dynamics that there is love there, and of course there is love in the truest sense, but where the love is where you are one, the one being, the one love. The dynamics are often not love. They are often manipulative and entangled, and part of this possibility is untangling from those dynamics and living as love, and offering all beings within the field around us to live as that love, because essentially all that any being is longing for is love, and to know the love that we are, and to live it and shine as this love. It's a beautiful possibility to open to.